In this third video, where we're going to look at Azure Service Bus large message patterns, this time we're going to look at a pattern where rather than flow the message itself through Service Bus, we're going to put the data to one side in some kind of message store. We're then going to flow a pointer to that message through the Azure Service Bus queue so that the receiver can then go and collect the message from the separate store. Again, we're going to use the RPC message exchange pattern, and if we look at the client, you can see here we're going to start off by using the cache side request queue and the cache side response queue. When the client starts up, it's going to give us the option to send a message by clicking the button, and what we're going to do is read the content of the data from a file and populate our very big data object. So in the solution you've got this input.txt file which contains the data we're going to read. The next thing we're going to do is serialize that message to JSON, and then we're going to use this save message to storage method, which is further down. And in the example here we're going to just simply use the blob storage capability on Azure as an easy way to let me store lots of messages. In this method you can see that I'm going to create a connection to the blob storage with a blob client, and then I'm going to simply upload the JSON text. The location I save it at is going to be request dash and then whatever the session ID is I pass through. Back in the main method, once I've saved the message to blob storage, I'm then going to create a new message which is our reference message, which is going to just contain a pointer, and that contains a property called message location, which is where I'm going to specify where the actual real message body is stored, and then I'm going to send it to Azure Service Bus. If we look further down, you can see in the send to Service Bus method is very similar to the ones we've shown previously, where we simply create our brokered message, specify the correlation and reply to properties, and send the message. We're then going to wait for our response to come back using the receive service bus response method, and that's going to create a message session using our session ID and wait for a message to come back, and then when we've got that message we're going to deserialize it to our reference message. And once we've got our message pointer back, we can then go and extract from blob storage the response message, because the message that came over the queue provided the location of where that real message is. And again, in the get message from storage, you can see we're just going to download the text from that the blob in Azure blob storage. Finally, we're going to just display that to the screen. So that's the client side, and on the receiver side it's very similar, where we're going to open up a message receiver, and then we're going to wait till we receive messages, deserialize them so we know it's our reference message, and then we're going to use get message from storage to go to the blob store, pull the message down, and then we're going to create a response type which will be populated from the response text file in the solution here. And then finally we're going to save the response message to blob storage and send a pointer message back through the service bus queue so the client would know where to go and find that data from. And just before we do that, if we have a quick look in the Azure blob storage here, you can see that we haven't got any messages in there already. So if we run our sample, and as usual we've got the receiver in green text, the sender in blue text, and if we press a key to send the message, and you can see if we look through here, it's started by saving the request to storage, sending the pointer message to service bus, waiting for a response. Then when it got the response, it displays the text that was in that response. On the receiver side, we were waiting for our messages, and then when we got one, we could go to blob storage and get the text from it, and then we could send a message back. So let's send a couple more just to illustrate. And that's quite a small file, so it's pretty quick there. But the key thing is that the the data we put in blob storage can potentially go to quite a large amount of data. But the one thing that's probably key to remember here is when you're downloading the data, you need to bear in mind that you may have a lock on a message from Service Bus, so you probably want to do the download after you've acknowledged the receipt of the message. But hopefully that illustrates that that's quite an easy pattern to set up, and the question then becomes, what do you use as the place to store your message body? And in this case I used Azure Blob Storage, and we can see if we refresh here, we'll see we've got some messages in this storage now. So there's a few of those there, and if we note that although I can acknowledge the receipt of the message from the Service Bus queue, I may have to implement some code to delete the message from Azure Storage if I need to do that. And so there's just kind of different things to consider here. And if I was maybe using a cache, I could have an auto eviction policy after a certain amount of time, but then I trade off that the cache may not guarantee the message is still there, whereas some durable storage like Service Bus, like Azure Blob Storage would mean my process can crash, or the server side cloud stuff could crash, and the message would still be there later when I came back. So that's a quick overview of what I've called the cache aside pattern, which is a similar term used in caching approaches, but basically the core concept is we take the message body, put it to one side in some kind of storage, send a pointer to that message through the queue, and then grab the real message when we get to the other side.